Try something.
Okay, so starting stream health. Let's see. Okay, so it says I am live.
Oh, it says you're live. Here we go.
Yep.
With me. Awesome. So, right.
You're slightly too far over again.
Over. Is it this side or that side?
The other side.
The other side. That side. Okay.
It's not showing us, but it says we're live. Why doesn't it show us? Okay, well it says we're live anyway.
Well, I think we can kind of pretend as if we are live now. I think that we basically are. So, do you want to start with the introduction and stuff?
Hang on. Am I still on your screen okay?
I think so.
Right, just want to make sure. Right, let's turn down the volume on this. We are live apparently. Yep, definitely live. Okay, so what do you do?
What am I doing? I am on Facebook just posting stuff. So
Seriously?
I'm good to go pretty much now.
2 seconds. You sit there. Perfect opportunity for the cats to start fighting. As soon as we get things going, the cats start fighting. Okay, so anyway, where were we?
Introductions.
Yes, so finally we're only 40 minutes late.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you everybody who is watching, whether you're live or whether you're watching this back. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lyndsey and this is Patrick. We are very new to this, so you will have to bear with us. We were meant to be live at 8:30, but we've had teething problems for the last at least half an hour. So please do bear with us and keep joining us because it's funny even just watching us freak out over things going wrong. But yeah, so anyway, tonight we do have more topics that we want to talk about. We are a wee bit more structured than we were our first lives. We're also sober, which is always good. Although the first one with me drunk in it, at least that's gone, but we'll not talk about that. So yeah, so tonight we're going to start by talking about what we've been up to this week, just recapping how we're keeping ourselves busy. We're also going to talk about our blogs and vlogs and what we are talking about and what we take away from each other's posts. I do more videos, Patrick does more written posts, so it's always interesting to see the difference there and what you can actually put down. I am rubbish. I was going to say I'm rubbish at articulating myself when I'm typing, but there we go, I can't even do it when I'm talking either. We're also going to talk about the lockdown and what we're doing to keep ourselves productive or not productive and how society is perceiving what we should be doing right now. We're also going to delve into something a wee bit more serious in that we want to talk about loneliness and how we can create a community for people who are lonely and ourselves in our own loneliness, both now and in general, without just having isolation. You know, it's something that goes on all the time, not just right now. Then we are going to talk about a movie. If you haven't seen the movie All About Time, it's on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, do not watch the end of this video because there will be a lot of spoilers because we're going to delve into what we think of it. So yeah, that is a rundown of what we're going to talk about, whether we actually get to the end or not, depending on what happens with my laptop. So, Patrick, tell us, what have you been up to this week?
So what have I been up to this week? Mostly getting out on the bike and doing my blogging, which I'm trying to do every day as a kind of an exercise in I don't know, catharsis or something. It just like to put down a thought of the day for myself as a measure of sort of self-improvement is what my blogs are. It's a little bit sort of well, it definitely serves a purpose for me in the respect that I put down things that I want to improve in myself. But I hope that other people can go away from my blogs kind of thinking that maybe that is something, that they want to improve in themselves, and that it kind of serves a dual purpose in that respect of kind of helping other people, but mostly helping myself.
Yeah, fantastic.
So that and cycling, which I've been doing every day, and I've been trying to get more into mindfulness, just simple things like tidying up the house and trying to be kind of more present and aware, which was something that was one of my criticisms of myself whenever I came away from the last stream that we did, was that there were times when I wasn't entirely present and aware.
Okay.
Did you have any constructive criticisms of yourself coming away from the last?
See, to be honest, after doing YouTube for 7 years, I think it is, I have a lot of constructive criticisms for myself, and one of them is always just stop saying so much, or and actually thinking before you speak. Definitely one of the biggest things is have proper topics, because when you don't, you tend to ramble a lot. When you don't have a steady stream of thought that you know where you're going with something, you definitely ramble. And I think that's something that I always try and be conscious of. Whenever you're trying to do live streams and you don't have that, it's a very different thing to having a lot of my videos, apart from the vlogs, are very structured in that I know what I'm going to say, I know what I'm going to do from start to finish, whereas I find from our live stream it was kind of, I felt like I was just winging it the whole time, and I don't really enjoy doing that so much.
There's kind of something beautiful about that, though. That's kind of what makes live streams kind of enjoyable to watch, and kind of enjoyable to kind of to participate in as well. That as much as it's nice to have a vague idea of what we're going to talk about, it's also nice to kind of freestyle and just to see what comes up.
Yeah, very much so. But definitely don't go in it with no idea what you want to talk about, because there'll be a lot of dead time. And what happens then when you don't really have a clue what you're going to talk about next? People stop watching, people disappear, people move on to something else, because we live in a world now where everybody wants that enjoyment like that. In a seminar I was in recently, they talked about how we used to have 30 seconds to really draw people in and be interested in what we were talking about. Apparently that's now 15 seconds. So that has been cut by half, which is massive, which is why the likes of TikTok and things like that are so popular, because they're such a short video and there's so much happening in them from start to finish that you draw people in quicker than longer videos. So you really do need to kind of get people in straight away, because if you don't, then people are going to lose interest very, very fast.
Yes. Do you think attention spans are kind of diminishing in millennials or whatever else? It's sort of a common criticism that the millennial generation is kind of losing their attention span. And
definitely. And I think a lot of that is down to social media. And everything is so instantaneous. When you and I were children, we watched things when they were shown on TV. Now that as adults, everything is there when you want it. You didn't have to be in at 6 o'clock on a Sunday night to watch something. You can just watch it back, even if it's on TV at that particular time. You can watch it back at another time. Things are more instant now, whereas we had to plan for things. We had to build ourselves up to things. It wasn't always there right away.
Yes, definitely. So I was signing into our thing on YouTube. We've got 4 people watching, believe it or not.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Hello to anybody watching.
That happens. I'm sorry?
I'm just saying hello to anybody watching. Let us know who you are and where you're watching us from.
Yes. Things are more instant.
Of course, we have Lynn. Hello, Lynn.
Oh, Lynn's back. Hello, Lynn. Yes, they are. And it's, I find it even in my own attention span that I find it more difficult if I'm watching a a show or whatever, I'm much easier. It's much easier for me to get engaged in like a YouTube video, which is 10 minutes long, than it is for me to get a series.
Yeah.
And yes, that kind of brings us on to well, this sort of sorry, I need to formulate my thought here. In a time of lower attention spans, a lockdown is absolute hell for people, because people want kind of something to do, then something else to do, then something else to do.
Yep.
And
they want to know when things are coming, and I think that's part of it as well. Part of the problem is people don't know when this is going to end. Whereas if people have an idea, right, okay, on such and such a day, we're going to be allowed out again, they have that to focus on. You know, they can keep that in the back of their mind. And I think that's one of the problems as well with focusing on things. You know, we want everything right now. We want to know when things are going to happen. You know, everything is about our own self-gratitude. Gratification, not gratitude, but you know what I mean?
Yes, it is. So people have had that taken away from them. That's a lot of agency to have taken away from you.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of dopamine hits that you kind of had taken away from you or something. It's kind of like, you know, and if you live in an instant world of constant gratification, that is having your agency taken away and having all that sort of endorphins of the contemporary modern world taken away it's something that a lot of people are struggling with.
Yeah.
And it is leading to a lot of loneliness during the lockdown, because people usually interact with a lot of people in work or in school or in wherever. So people now may be facing loneliness for the first time, which is kind of brings us on to kind of our first topic.
Very, very much so. I would say that most of my social side comes from my job. I mean, I see so many different people throughout the day, but when I finish work and I come home, I really don't see anybody. My husband, who I've been married to for 10 years, we've been together for 16, we actually hardly ever see each other because he works nights and he's in bed all day. So, for example, I've seen him for 2 hours. Some days I see him for less than that. So when I'm at work, I'm seeing so many different people, and you get that social side where you're chatting, you're talking about what's going on in the world, and when you come home, it's okay then to just chill on your own and be by yourself, because you know that you have people to talk to the next day. Whereas right now, I don't have that. You know, it's just me and the cats here. So I think it's really important now more than ever to actually be social. And I think that's something that I was talking about recently. I haven't uploaded my latest vlog yet, but it's something that I was talking about as I was walking around on Thursday night, just past 8 o'clock. I decided to do my vlog while everybody was clapping and cheering and people were out in their streets chatting. And it really struck me that for the first time in a long time, neighbours are actually conversing with each other. I could tell you, there's so many times I've walked down this street and passed neighbours who've looked the other way. You know, but
people need it now.
We
people
really
need
do.
Community now more than they ever have.
Very much so.
I'll put down a note there. It's very much not uncommon for couples nowadays to see each other less than 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know, and in long-term relationships, that's kind of normal.
Yeah.
Or at least it becomes
that's
normal.
how we last.
Yeah. It's weird for a lot of couples who work full time and who work sort of 10, 15 hours a day, not always on the same shift. You know, it's kind of equivalent. Like, I've had relationships in the past where we were both unemployed, so we saw each other all day, every day for, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. That's equivalent to about a 10-year relationship for most people. If you kind of think about it, you know, it's because we were together morning, noon, and night for basically 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people,
And I think that's something as well that a lot of people are really struggling with right now, is that a lot of couples didn't have that. You know, my husband still works. He is a key worker, so he's out there. He's still doing the same 4 or 5 nights a week. And, you know, I'm still seeing him maybe slightly more, because there's weeks where he starts work at 5 o'clock. I don't finish till 6. So I don't actually, for days on end, I wouldn't see him, because when I'm getting up, he's in bed, and when he's getting up, I'm not in the house. So we don't see each other except for one of us is sleeping. So that's the difference now. I'm actually getting that 1 or 2 hours with him a day, where for years I didn't have that. You know, the one day a week where I knew I would always see him was a Saturday night, except for one in every 5. But Saturday night was always the night where I knew I was going to get to spend the evening with him. He'd be there on a Sunday day and back to work most Sundays. The rest of the week, from Tuesday when I go back to work right through to that Saturday, I pretty much don't see him. And that's just the way it is, unless he's sleeping, or yeah, that's it. That's the only time I see him, whenever he's sleeping. Because anyway, so my point is,
Yes.
a lot of couples now who they're both at home are really struggling to actually cope with being together all the time.
That's a thorny rose talking about that.
It is,
Yes,
of course.
and you're right. It is. There's kind of a loneliness in being together sometimes, as there is a loneliness in being apart. But we'll
There
maybe
is.
circle back to that point, because
Yeah, definitely. The whole couples and being together, we can delve into that another time. But with the
Yes.
loneliness thing, going back to just talking about how for so long my social experience was at work, whereas now I don't have that. So I am relying on that wee bit of time with Thomas. But again, I'm actually finding I'm more conscious of chatting with people. I mean, for example, let's face it, how long have you and I talked about doing live videos?
actually quite a long time.
Yeah.
And we just never got on to it.
Yeah. Whereas now we're actually making the point of properly doing it. We're delving into it. I find I'm talking to friends that maybe I haven't seen for years, and planning after all of this to actually get together with them and spend time with them, because we
Yes.
are more conscious of these are the people that we need to be focusing on, because they're the ones that are
That's
lonely
something
as
I kind
well.
of, that's something that I kind of want to circle back to, is community, though, because I think that nowadays, because everybody's in the same position, it's kind of like our communities have kind of gone back 50 years or something. It's lovely.
Yeah, well,
in some way.
that again is, whenever I was walking around the streets, it made me think about even whenever I was a child, the street that I grew up in, my mum and dad still live in. And I know barely anybody in it. But back as a child, everybody knew everybody, and you walked in and out of people's houses, and everybody borrowed things from people. We had street parties, and my dad grew up in a community like that, and I know there's people that still talk about his family, and he talks about their families and people's grannies. Like my granny, all my friends called my granny Holt Granny Holt. That was just what everybody knew her as, and that's the way it used to be. Whereas
Yeah.
people aren't growing up with that now. You know, I walk out in my street, and apart from a couple of people, I would walk past so many people in my street and not actually know them, because we aren't sociable people anymore. Like, I'm finding myself lately, when I'm out walking Toby, I'm looking at people and smiling, whereas before I would have looked away. I wouldn't have actually said hello to people that I was passing, because, to be honest, I didn't want to. Whereas now I'm like, I'm going to smile at this person, I'm going to say hi, or if they cross the street so that I can pass, I'm going to thank them for doing that. You know, these things that we would never have thought about before are becoming something that we want to do, because we are lonely. It is a very different world that we're living in now.
Yes. I want to formulate this thought. This thought is basically the internet and loneliness. The loneliness epidemic has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of hit everybody.
Yeah.
With the outbreak of COVID-19. But it's actually something that's been around a long time, and some people are saying has been made worse by the internet. You know, people have Facebook friends, but they don't have friends.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
Let's face it, we all have friends that we're Facebook friends with, but if you saw them in the street, are you going to stop and say hello to them?
No.
Exactly. Because you've nothing to say to them.
Yeah. After a certain amount of time of not talking to somebody, it's hard to know what to talk to them about.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get in touch with them on Facebook and say, hey, do you fancy a drink, if you haven't seen them for 10 years?
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people are very envious of kind of what other people put out on Facebook and social media, and it's sort of like, you know, is that the true story, or is that the
I
Or
think
is that the
that
Instagram
could be
story
a
essentially?
whole topic on its own, because
Yeah.
people live in a wee world where Facebook reality is not their real reality. We put out
Is it?
what we want people to perceive of us. I mean, I know people who put out posts about how happy they are and how much they love their spouses, when in reality you know that they can't stand each other, but they want people to perceive them having this perfect life, and that's the thing about Facebook and any other social media. You know, you put out what you want people to see, and if you want people to see a fake person and a fake happy life, that's what people are putting out.
Yeah. Yes, that is a topic all on its own. I'm sure we will circle back to that one at a
Yeah.
later stage, because there's no doubt about it, that's true, and that would be worth doing some sort of homework on, because there's something about that we definitely need to discuss.
Yeah.
What have you been doing this week? You've been doing your beauty or your skincare video, which I watched.
Thank you for watching that. Can't believe you
Not a
did.
problem at all.
Did you
I'm not
make
the
it to
target
the
demographic
end?
for that sort of thing, but
Did you
I
make
don't.
it to the end of the video?
Oh no, I didn't really. I think it did. I made about 7 or 8 minutes in, or how long
Wow,
was it?
well done. It was only 8 minutes or so.
Yeah,
Very
maybe a bit
good.
more or
I
less
am
the
very
end, yeah.
surprised by that. But
Well, you
no,
know, you and I are doing this sort of new project together, so I'm trying to support you as much as I can.
thank
But
you.
yeah, that wouldn't be. I would not be the target demographic for that
No,
sort of stuff. I
can't
use
imagine
anything
that.
on my skin, and I don't kind of so. But I'm happy to go on to your stuff and stuff. Is that what's your next video about, or do you want to tell us what your next video is about?
My next videos this week, I'm posting one every day on different products that I'm recommending, things that I use. I'm gearing it more towards the salon rather than just on my sort of influencer pages. So I'm focusing on that this week coming. But this week I have been updating my website. I have been chatting with a lot of clients. The suppliers for the skincare range that I was using in that video, they have kindly decided that they're not going to charge for delivery, and they're going to send out products direct to our customers, which has been fantastic because it meant that I don't have to go to the post office. So I've had so many clients actually contacting and getting advice and getting new products and stuff in. So it's actually been quite a good week, because I have been able to be in touch with clients and feel like I was doing a wee bit of work. And I've been working on, obviously, the video. I spent the day editing. I forgot how much editing goes into. That video was actually 35 minutes long, and
Okay.
I had to edit it down into less than 10 minutes, because with certain videos you don't want it to be longer than 10 minutes, because again, with the whole, people do lose interest. I know there's been times I've watched people's videos on skincare or makeup and things, and you find yourself hitting the forward button, you know, moving 10 seconds or whatever, because you do lose interest unless it's something that you're really engaging in. But yeah, so I've kind of just been trying to find a routine of things. I have had a few days where I wasn't feeling great. I had a couple of days where I didn't sleep, which was a bit crap. So like Friday night into Saturday morning, I was awake the whole night long. So yesterday was a total write-off for me. So today it's been nice to actually get up and do a few things. I went out early today, round to my mother-in-law's, and actually had dinner with her, which was quite nice, because generally I go round and I walk the dog at the time that she's going to bed. So it was nice to actually get round a wee bit earlier and actually see her before she's ready to go to sleep. So,
How's your mother-in-law doing with the whole thing? How's she coping?
do you know what? My mother-in-law has been housebound for a couple of years. She's also got dementia, so she's quite oblivious to everything that's going on. She knows that things are different. She does see stuff on the news and can tell that things aren't right, especially because she hasn't seen Thomas for weeks. She basically sees me and one of my other brothers-in-law, and then the carers coming in, so she can tell that something's different. But the beauty of the way she is right now, she really doesn't get how crazy this time actually is, because she's been in her own wee bubble for so long anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm a wee bit like that too. I just go down the street. I'm a wee bit in my own wee bubble anyway. Like all I really do most days is go out for a cycle, maybe go to the shops, you know, do whatever, maybe YouTube. Lynn was saying that men need to look after their skin
They
too.
do, but we'll delve into that another time. I will talk to you about that in a dedicated video, but not tonight.
Is your fan base, I assume, is mostly female?
Well, to be honest, a lot of my fans on YouTube and stuff are geared towards men, because a lot of men who, really controversial to say this, but the only men, not the only men, but a lot of men that would watch my skincare and beauty videos and stuff wouldn't be straight men, and that's just the reality of it. However, I am at a stage where for the last year I've been really focusing on encouraging guys to look after their skin more. My husband uses my products. Amanda, that works with me, her fiance, she's actually taught him this week how to do facials. I think that's amazing. So they're doing facials on each other at home while they live together, so they're able to do this while they're at home. Neither of them, I think he's working from home, but he is there more. So he would already have looked after his skin, but she's taught him how to actually do facials. So I definitely think, especially as we are getting that wee bit older, more and more men do need to actually look after their skin. Men in general think, I'll just wing it, I'll just, see the amount of guys that I know who don't actually properly wash their face or use their shower gel to wash their face. Honestly, that just makes me cringe, because men then wonder why their skin isn't that great. But do you know what? Some men will never get it, and some men will never appreciate it. Sometimes
there has been a sort of a growing trend with metrosexuality and whatnot for men to take more care over their appearance, and for men to kind of, maybe this is the next kind of stage of that, is kind of men looking after their skincare.
Well, there is that, but do you not think that it's almost like men going back, reverting back? I think for a long time men didn't really act or dress like men. If you go back to, I don't know, 70, 80 years ago, maybe not even that far back, when men dressed in suits and men were well presented all the time, whereas I find men are really casual now. But I think we're actually coming around again, where men are starting to think about their appearance more, and they're taking more from what women are doing in that, and they're saying, okay, well, if they're doing this here, maybe we should think about this too.
Yeah, it's sort of a sign of status or something. If you can dress well, and if you, I don't know if you've ever watched How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Barney Stinson, presented his status by always wearing a suit.
Yeah, suit
always
up.
being well groomed, always being sort of, and sort of, it is a sign of status or something that, if you are always well presented at all times, it sort of presents a certain veneer of yourself, and it is absolutely something that men should take pride in. And maybe that's one of the many ways in which sort of society is kind of losing its way, or at least men are. That sort of not presenting your best at all times is sort of a negative.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly talking about skincare here. I am talking about more dress and more.
Yeah, the whole thing in
dress.
general. Yeah, definitely, because more and more you see men, no matter what age they are dressing really casual. I mean, grown men of your age, my husband's age, are dressing pretty much the same as people in their mid to late teens. There is no, I guess for me, I don't think there's the same pride in looking well presented compared to what people are just trendy. Whatever the latest trend is, people more gravitate towards dressing like that, and t-shirts and jeans.
Do you think that it's a sign that men today don't value their masculinity or value themselves in the way in which they used to? Presenting your best at all times and presenting your status at all times was something that everyone, regardless of their class, used to take sort of pride in. And nowadays it's sort of like it's dress casual Friday every day, essentially, or whatever. And that's sort of bad for masculinity, and it's bad for chivalry, and it's bad for everything, really.
Yeah.
That's an interesting sort of thought about contemporary masculinity, and I'm not going to say contemporary femininity is probably perfect either, but it's there's a certain respect which we all used to present our status in a way in which we would want the neighbours to be proud of or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes, that wasn't on our radar for things to talk about tonight, but that is certainly something that, is within the realm of things that I would like to talk about on the live stream. So, yes, we've got 3, one of them's me. So I'm not sure how much of a rewatch value these things. We did okay on the last one. We got about 50 odd views.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. The more we keep going with this, the more people that do drop in and out and watch us, and the more people see what we're talking about as well, the more people will actually watch back as well.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, so it's worth our while being reasonably professional. What was the next topic? Yes. What was the next topic I was talking about?
We kind of skipped over talking about what we're blogging about.
Yes, we did, because I've actually done a few blogs this week.
You have. And, you've been very active.
Yes. I'm trying to do sort of 200, 300, 400 words a day and just get it out there. 200, 300, 400 words a day. What was the next blog I did? God, I can't even remember. I did one. The first blog I did was on the loneliness epidemic and how internet culture may or may not kind of be something to do with that.
Yeah.
The next one I did was speed dating.
Yes, tell me about that.
Yes, this could just be. I had a good time, and I gave a very positive review of speed dating. I didn't say anything negative.
No, you didn't. I did read the blog about it. I did read that, but let's delve into that a wee bit more. I mean, have you done a lot of speed dating online? Was this a new thing for you?
This was the 3rd time I'd done it.
Okay.
So, yep. So I thought it was worth writing a blog about. It's not my intention to say anything negative about anybody, so that's not going to happen. I've really enjoyed talking to everybody. So
you're sitting off to the side again.
Oh, sorry, I need to be over here, don't I?
Yeah.
You're kind of a wee bit down, by the way, on my live stream. But I don't know if anybody's particularly watching my live stream, but kind of, there's a lot of blank space between your head and the... Yeah, so that's better.
Okay.
Yep. So, I really enjoyed it. The way it works is you get 4.5 minutes with everyone, and there was, I think, 5 women and 8 men or something. So, demographically, it wasn't kind of in my favour. Then, so after the event's over, there's kind of like a conference call. Pretty much all the women left at the end of the conference call except for one. So we all had a drink and stuff, and I got chatting to a few of the guys, and there was like a breakout room. So you go into a breakout room with one of the girls, and then my last 2 breakout rooms were with 2 guys. But that was fine. I enjoyed that too.
Okay.
It's just sort of, it was technically hosted in Birmingham, because there isn't one in Belfast, but that was fine. It's not like meeting up is an option for the next couple of weeks anyway. I have stayed in touch with a couple of them, so that was good.
Cool.
And so maybe that's the way that dating is going, is online, is that dating's going the way of actually speed dating and video calling, and definitely it was a refreshing change of pace for me. It was lovely.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about how different getting to know people is now. And even before all of this here, we did have a lot of people who weren't really meeting people just off the cuff anymore. More and more people are meeting online. Obviously, I mean, I've been with my husband 16 years. It was a very different time back then for chat rooms and, online dating and all of that. But I think more and more people now are finding love online, and it is something that will continue to change. And speed dating has always been around, so we have to update it for this new online age. And I think maybe it is something that will work for people. You can't win them all every time, but it's something fun to do to get to know people that you wouldn't necessarily talk to on a normal basis.
Yeah. You're not going to win them all. I mean, online dating, especially for men, is just one of those cases of you're not going to win them all. Because men match with less people than women would. Women would match with more people than men would. I think the demographics of online dating are pretty much in women's favour, i.e. about 60% of people who go on dating sites are men.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't have a source for that or anything, but generally speaking, it's the demographics of online dating are in women's favour. Women are more selective anyway, whereas men, you know what I mean? So that's kind of a thing. But more and more people are finding love online, and it's a bit of a hornet's nest, online dating. It's you need to stay on target as to what it is you're looking for and how it is to get there. And it's a tough one to navigate sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure it is very tough because it's bound to be, at the surface, it's bound to be a very shallow world.
Yeah, it is.
Because, you know, I suppose it's the same as meeting somebody in a bar. If you're not physically attracted to the person, you're going to walk away. So it's the same as this, where if somebody comes on immediately and you're like, oh no, they're not attractive, I don't find them attractive, you move on right away. You mentally shut down. Whereas I actually think at this point in our lives, could be wrong, again, I'm not the best person to talk about this because I'm not single, but it could be a time where people are more open to actually delving in more to somebody's personality rather than are they extremely hot, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the thing is about attractive people is that they can be more selective. So, you know, that's true of men and women, you know what I mean? And you know, what's the polite way to say, if you're average attractiveness, if you're going for somebody that's attractive, then chances are, you know, and that goes for both genders. And
very much so. You're barking up the wrong tree if you're, you know, there is that whole thing where if you're a 5, don't go for a 10.
Don't exactly, and well, sorry, you kind of cut out there, but I assume you said if you're a 5, don't go for a 10.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And it may or may not be on dating sites that you actually, you know, get a 10, but he's probably not going to be interested in you for the long term. I mean, we can talk. This is probably something I'll talk about more in depth in blogs in the future, about kind of the many faux pas that I see on dating sites, and I see a lot of them. From women, it's kind of a bit of a hornet's nest because contemporary femininity is a little bit kind of more sensitive and not open to criticism than it used to be. It used to be that like Cosmo was giving out faux pas articles every week, but I see the same faux pas in every conversation, and you know, it's sort of what do I do about this, except that, you know, that's a faux pas. I'm going to have to overlook that faux pas. But I don't know. It used to be that women were very, very aware of dating faux pas, and now maybe it's in the same way as, you know, men. You know, they don't present the best sides of themselves at all times. Women are the same way. They kind of they're more casual in the dating life. Like it used to be that if you went out on a date, you would dress up for that date. You know, a lot of women don't.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, is that a good thing? Not necessarily.
No, I think there is an element of when we present ourselves better on the surface, you know, you feel like, okay, I'm looking great, I'm feeling great, I'm going in with this to get to know somebody new. I want to show them the best side of me. You know, I personally wouldn't go out on a first date wearing jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
But again, that's just me.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how many women would dress more casually than that. I'm talking tracky bottoms and a t-shirt, and, you know. Yeah, so that's been, I have a very jaded view of online dating now. I'm kind of hoping to kind of get off the scene. It's sort of, but, you know, the scene is what the scene is. But speed dating, on the other hand, kind of was women dressing to impress and women knowing that they would be judged within 5 minutes, and, you know, and that if you want to meet a good guy in 5 minutes, then you're going to need to, and that was nice.
Yeah.
And refreshing, I suppose.
Cool.
Yes, my own jaded and cynical view of online dating has come over kind of a number of years, and it's gender politics today is a hornet's nest that I just don't want to get into. But yeah, there's certainly faux pas that out there that Cosmo or whatever other women's magazines should be writing articles about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What was anything else you want to talk about?
What else were we talking about?
Yes, I wrote a thing.
I think we have covered everything except our chat about the movie.
I don't. Let's see. We've got 2 people watching
Which
so
I
far.
think
So we'll
is you
see.
and me.
One of them might be me.
And the other one is me.
All right. Okay. So nobody's
So we're
watching.
on our own right now.
Is it possible that this has been too formal, or is it possible that this isn't formal enough?
I don't know. It could just be that nobody's about right now, and just one of those things. I think there's 3 coming. I'm gonna say that's Lynn probably coming back in.
And then,
yeah. Oh wait, she says she's still here.
All right.
Did you leave at all? No, she didn't leave at all. I wonder.
Okay, so we're doing all right. There were 3.
I wonder, do we maybe not show whenever we're watching our own channels?
Possibly.
Oh wait, you're
Anybody else
watching.
there or has
Hang
any
on,
comments
are
on what
you
we're
watching
saying?
your channel?
I'm watching, I think, on your channel.
Oh right, okay, fair enough. So you'll probably be one of the people watching, and then there's 2 others then. Because I don't think I'll register as a viewer because it's my channel.
Yeah, maybe if you're watching on my channel, it would show up as a viewer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Lynn had actually mentioned there that she always had a fear of being catfished with online dating. Do you want to delve into that?
It happens. It doesn't happen. At least for men, it doesn't happen that often.
Mm-hmm.
There are certainly spam accounts, but for men, see, I can only really speak anecdotally for men, from my experience. If you mean catfishing, kind of turning up on the date and the date doesn't look anything like their profile picture, that probably happens quite a lot.
Yeah, I would say so.
Most
Let's face it,
people
look at my
probably-
profile pictures everywhere. I don't look like that.
Yeah, it's human nature to put up a good picture of yourself. So I actually didn't hear what you said there. You kind of cut out.
My profile pictures everywhere are me looking my best, which
Yes.
I don't look like on a daily basis.
So it's human nature to kind of get a selfie of you at a good angle, or to kind of put up a picture of yourself 5 years ago whenever you were particularly athletic, or you know what I mean. That's human nature, and a lot of people don't change their profile pics enough. And if that's your definition of catfishing, then that probably happens quite a lot. In the respect that you turn up and you're kind of disappointed. I would say that happens more. My rule of thumb is that if she's like a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10, you can expect her to be about a 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, whenever you have to get there, and you sort of have to allow for that. Yes, so that's just kind of part of the process. But I don't know if that is your definition of being catfished, but except that that's common. There are definitely spam accounts, but you'll be able to notice the spam accounts miles away. Turning up on a date and a completely different person turning up. As far as I'm aware, that doesn't happen all that often, but I might be the wrong person to ask. Is your definition of catfishing kind of that what you said in confidence goes out, that they use that information and they post it somewhere public? Is that your definition of catfishing?
Who knows what she means?
In which case, make sure that you're talking to a real person before you say anything too private. Certainly private conversations would be common, or at least they're common. Yeah. I've had private conversations with people. I've never sort of posted them publicly with anyone or anything. So I guess you just have to know who you're talking to, and if they're...
Lynn is saying here that it's a different person from their profile picture, so that is what concerns her. or did concern her, obviously not anymore. But delving
Yes.
into that, I can tell you that a few of my friends have actually been contacted, both male and female, have been contacted by people that they know because they have turned up on Tinder, or one guy ended up on Grindr, had no idea it was happening, and it turned out that it was somebody else had set up these but used their pictures because they were incredibly attractive people.
All right.
In fact, some people have set them up with their names and stuff as well, but they're from a totally different country. But so if you Google their names, they show up that they do exist because they've chosen things. It's the same as, you know, these fake accounts that someone will add you on Facebook that you're already friends with because someone has taken. So I know a few people that has happened to, where somebody has contacted or somebody has, say it's on Tinder, they've swiped right and it turns out that it's not actually the person that they thought it was, which is kind of, that's a weird one.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that doesn't happen. All I can say is that I've never done it, but yeah, I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. I think there was a time about 10 years ago on dating sites whenever it was a new frontier, and there was kind of a lot of people trying to take advantage of the new frontier, you know, just like people trying to take advantage of every new frontier.
Yeah.
Now that it's not such of a new frontier, people are a bit more aware of, like, people have clamped down on all of the ways in which people were being dishonest and disingenuous or whatever with you know. Yeah. There's no way to do it completely, of course. There's no way to completely cut it out, but
no.
I don't think that it's as much of a minefield today as it was sort of 10 years ago. Yeah. And I was on dating sites 10 years ago, and I know how much of a minefield it was then. So, so I think it has gotten better by way of safety and catfishing goes.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, like with everything, you know, changes over time and better procedures are put in place. I mean, I know from my point of view, obviously not on dating sites, but on Instagram, the amount of times a week I have celebrities following me and sending messages. Sorry, I should say that as in celebrities with air quotes, because it's fake accounts. And they'll come along and they'll send me something. For example, we've talked about it before, I absolutely love New Kids on the Block. So, I would be a Jordan Knight fan. And people will see that. They'll see me commenting on things. So what I'll get at least twice a week, I will get a message from somebody and it'll say, Jordan Knight official with a load of numbers. Or official will be spelt wrong. It'll be different things like that. And they'll send you a message going, hi fan, how are you? I'm coming down onto your level because I want to share how grateful I am for you being a fan. And there's times where I have actually gone with it just to see what happens, to see how far they're willing to go. I've had a relationship that lasted 2 weeks with Vin Diesel. Ben Affleck was going to report me to his priest because I wouldn't give him money for the orphanage. Who else? Oh, Prince Harry. For about 2 years solid, I had different accounts with Prince Harry's name on them. Honestly, the amount of these things that would come through are ridiculous. And sometimes I'll have a wee bit of fun with them and make them think that I'm falling for it. Like the one with Vin Diesel, he messaged me every day with a morning selfie, which if you went onto Google and typed in Vin Diesel selfie, you could find that picture from years ago. But he would have these conversations. He was out in New York and he was filming. He was away from his family and he wanted me to come and spend time with his kids. I remember whenever he asked me for a picture of myself, so I sent him a picture of Vin Diesel's wife. And he was like, that's not you. And I was like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that you know what your wife looks like. But this went on for 2 weeks, and then he said how sad he was because there was a child dying in his Paul Walker Foundation orphanage out in Africa, and if they didn't get £200 for this baby, it was going to die. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's awful. Where do I send money to? And he explained to me that I needed to get like a money order and gave me all the details. And I was like, oh yes, I will do that. First thing in the morning, I will go to the post office. I will get this money order and I will send it to you. And I then said to him, how much are you putting in? You know, because money is no object to me. I can put in as much as you are. And he was like, oh, well, my credit card has expired and my accountant can't get it sorted until I'm back in LA in 6 days. So unfortunately, it's so sad, but I can't put any money in. And at that stage, I was like, all right, come on. Seriously? For a start, Vin Diesel would not need to worry about his credit card expiring. He also wouldn't need to worry about his accountant sorting something in 6 days. That was the point where I was just like, yeah, I'm bored with this.
Yeah.
That is my experience with catfishing, that I just love to make people think that, yeah, I'm going along with this. I would genuinely like to know from one of these people how often it works, because that is a terrifying thought. Because they continue to do it. They continue to come through all the time, and I'm like, if it didn't work, at least some of the time,
yeah,
would they continue to do it? Like, would...
It's the kind of vulnerable and people, you know, elderly, you know, maybe senile people that kind of do sometimes send off one of these things, or, you know, like, yeah, intellectually not entirely there.
Yeah,
because it's so easy to tell that this probably isn't going to be Vin Diesel or whoever else that's messaging you.
Like, I know I'm amazing, Patrick.
Of course.
Like, I am absolutely outstanding. Like, of course they would want to be messaging me. But in the grand scheme of things, they're never going to find me. And it's their loss.
Yes,
but,
it is.
Yeah, no, it is one of those things that you know yourself. It's not going to be them. But it's really sad that there are people out there that clearly do fall for it, because it wouldn't continue to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That wasn't the topic that was on our radar.
No, it wasn't, but
it's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
There was actually an interesting TED talk about that. I replied to a spammer, and this is what happened. And it was basically a TED talk, kind of where he went as far as it could go with a spammer, and he sent like hundreds of emails back and forward to this spammer and stuff. You should watch it. It's quite funny.
Maybe I should do that. Maybe
I
should actually document actually having conversations with these people. I tend to now just...
account would be my idea, my advice to you, because if you do it once, you'll end up getting bombarded with, you know, hundreds of spam stuff. So, and that's what happened to him, is that he got bombarded with hundreds of them, thousands of them probably.
Yeah, I'll just stick to my 2 a week.
Yeah. We were going to talk about doing everything versus doing nothing.
Oh,
essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, that was on our to talk. Anything happening here in the comments? Still 3 people.
No, just Lynn had commented, just saying love it. That was back whenever I started talking about my love affair with Vin Diesel.
Oh yes.
Well,
that's a funny story though.
It is. It's a good story to share. I love telling people about that.
Yeah.
But talking about the whole being productive and doing things versus not, it's something that I keep seeing people saying things like, if you don't learn a new language, if you don't learn a new skill during this, you have wasted this lockdown. Yeah. And at first, I have to be honest, I felt in the first couple of weeks when I was taking time to get my office sorted and all of that, it took me 2 weeks to get this room sorted, and I felt like I wasn't being productive enough. I felt like I was wasting time. But as the weeks went on and I realised, hang on, actually just existing and getting through day by day is enough sometimes, because we're living in a totally unprecedented time. Just because you haven't learned a new skill, just because you don't know how to speak fluent Portuguese, doesn't make you any less of a person or any less productive, because we don't really know how to do this for the most part. It's different for someone like yourself, as you've said before, not a lot has changed for you in how you live your day-to-day life because you haven't worked for a while, so you are still kind of doing a lot of the same things. Obviously there is so much that's still changed, but you know, there's so many of us that our whole world, in fact all of us, our whole world is just being torn out from under us. Whatever way we can find to cope with that, and if that is just sitting watching TV for days on end before you actually get anything done, then fair enough. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to do things. You know, I'm doing my diploma in digital marketing, I'm working on my website, I am doing things, but I'm also okay with the days where, for example, Thursday night I think it was, no, it was Friday night whenever I couldn't sleep, I sat to 2:30 in the morning playing 2 Point Hospital on the Xbox. I spent 6 hours playing that game. And I tell you what, I think whenever we get off this video as well, I'm going to go back down and spend a few hours playing that game, because these are times that we can do these things. And there was it last Friday I binge watched all in one day Tiger King. That's not something I would have had time to do before. So just because you're not doing that doesn't mean to say that that's a bad thing. Yes, we should all strive to do things and be active. But if you're not able to, if your way of coping with this is just staying in and not actually doing anything at all, then that's okay too, because however you need to get through this is your way. Everybody is so different. Like, I know for me, with my mental and physical health, I do need to be active, so I do need that walk for half an hour every single day, or my body just seizes up, and that then has a knock-on effect on my mental health as well. But at the same time, I know that there will be days where are just a total write-off for me. So we don't always have to feel like we're always on. Just because we would have been working full-time, or whatever was going on before, doesn't mean to say we have to do... Like now, if I'm working during the week on luscious luxury stuff, I don't start until 10 o'clock, and I'll come away from the laptop at, say, 3 o'clock. You know, and I'll have a break for about an hour in the middle. You know, I'm not constantly on, and I am doing other things. It's not constant.
I think that you can only be productive. Well, there's a couple of things that I want to mention out of that.
That's okay.
But I think that you can only really be fully productive for sort of 15 minutes at a time, or 6 hours at a time, or a certain period of time at a time anyway.
Yeah.
Like the 8-hour working day has been it's been a creation of the Industrial Revolution, and it's a little bit artificial. Yeah. You know, you can only really be at your best productively for, you know, a certain amount of time, be it sort of, you know, for some people it's 15 minutes, for other people it's an hour, for other people it's 2 or 3 hours, but productively at your best, which means that you have to take a rest, which means that you have to allow time. And if you're coming out of the workplace where you've been on, and you taking a week off as essentially a holiday where you watch Netflix, it's not a bad thing to do for your mental and emotional health. But it may not be that you're in that place, you know, but it may be that kind of taking some time away and allowing yourself to relax is exactly what you should be doing. If you're in a particularly stressed out place and you're overstressed and overworked.
Sorry, I was just reading Lynn's message there. You need to have your phone for wherever you're reading those messages, you need it in front of you, so because every time you read a message, you're going off screen.
Right, okay, I've got it here now.
Maybe that's what we need to do. One person read out the message so the other person knows what's being said, so that, because you were in a train of thought there and then stopped to read that message. Yes,
I was. The second thing I wanted to suggest to you was Tetris. Tetris is supposed to be really, really good for focusing your attention on one thing. So if you're going to play a game, instead of playing a game that distracts you, I learned today on a podcast called The Art of Manliness that if you want to focus your mind down and kind of focus on one thing, playing Tetris in your downtime can really help to kind of relax you and kind of focus you on one thought and focus you on one... It's essentially a mindfulness practice, you know.
Okay.
So if you can focus on playing Tetris for 15-20 minutes, that's actually as good as a mindfulness meditation.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, so that's worth keeping in mind. That was the other thing I wanted to say. And yeah, so no, I think that you and I are kind of in agreement, but kind of not as well. Because obviously it would be good if you did use this time constructively and you did learn a language and everything else, but don't put yourself under pressure too.
No, well, that's the thing. I mean, I think it would be great if we all did, but at the same time, some people, especially with their mental or physical health, they can't find that. They can't find it in themselves to do it because they're really struggling with this. And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to get across. Don't beat yourself up about it, because I did have a conversation with someone recently who was really upset that they haven't done as much as other people are doing. They're not getting exercise every single day. They're not spending lots of time learning new things. They're just sort of getting through day by day. So it's, yes, as much as I think for long term, we all need to have something to focus on. We do all need to have a plan of some sort. I mean, I know, like, I spent the first 2 weeks just kind of pottering, getting this room sorted. But I had a plan in my head that Monday past there was the first day I was going to get back to my classes.
Yeah.
So I did have an idea in my head that I need a bit of structure. I need some sort of routine. And I think we all do to a certain degree. But we need to remember that we don't have to put that pressure on ourselves. And that it's okay if we're not coping with this as well. And maybe that's my whole point in it. It's okay if you're not coping. Because how do you cope with this? Because some days I feel like I am actually doing okay with it, and then the next minute I'll be sitting in tears going, what the heck is going on with this world? So we cope with this, and we learn how to live with this in whatever way we have to, and whatever works for one person, and whatever we find productive may not actually be what someone else finds productive. I mean, I certainly couldn't sit and learn a crochet pattern without wanting to poke my eyes out. But apparently Lynn loves it, so I mean, I'm waiting on blankets and things from her, so, you know, but whatever we can do to get ourselves through this, whatever helps you cope, that is the thing. And I think your blogs on mindfulness and spiritualism and everything are actually something that are really good for people to read, because there will be so many people out there who will really appreciate that, and the advice that you can give on that as well. And I think that's something, just going back to the whole blog thing, but it's something that I did want to say to you. Tumblr is great for a microblog, but I think a lot of what you are saying, you could actually delve into a lot more. And some of the points that you have in one of your blogs in particular, you could do each one of those points as a blog on its own and have so much to say on that. And a lot of people will take a lot away from that as well. And there's a lot of places more on Instagram and Facebook and stuff that you could be sharing those rather than just in Tumblr.
Yeah.
So I think...
Well, that's definitely something that we should talk about, either privately or dedicate a live stream to it, because that would be something I'd be interested in. Yeah, and whether or not it's... I mean, you have a website, but then you have something to sell. At the minute, I'm just sort of selling my word. I mean, I'm not really selling anything, I suppose.
Yeah, well, when you say website, I mean, I have lindseysworld.co.uk, which is just a domain I bought for a couple of pounds, but it's just it's my blog spot blog that it takes you to. You don't necessarily need that, but I definitely think that you could make longer posts. People... Again, it's something that we either do a main live stream on it, or we talk about privately, because I could talk for ages on this, and I do actually have a couple of pages of notes to actually give you on that topic. So we will move on from that, but know that I do want to discuss that more with you anyway.
Okay, cool. And there's something that I wanted to bring, kind of circle us back to here was a great thing that I was listening to called The Power of Habit. A lot of people don't understand how long it takes to build up a habit, any habit. And habits can either be great, like exercise, or they can be terrible, like smoking. Usually it takes about 2 weeks to develop any habit. So like very often, if you're in a place where you have no constructive habits, it's kind of just about doing one thing every day, which kind of builds up the power of that habit.
Yeah.
So I'm somebody who has fallen in and out of exercise many, many times. And for some people, it might not be going out and running a marathon tomorrow. It might just be doing 10 star jumps, or doing 5 star jumps, or doing 1 star jump, you know. But if you can do 1 star jump every day, or even, because if you think about the amount of habits that it takes to start exercising, you know, you have to put on your exercise gear, you have to leave the house, you have to have the attention, those are all habits that you have to build up. Those, like, the mere thing of putting on your exercise stuff, or putting on your coat, or walking to the park, or those are all habits.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, you know, my advice to them would be, you know, it might be a small habit that you start tomorrow, but start a habit tomorrow. So you know, do a press up or a sit up or something tomorrow or something. But that's something more than what you did. That's infinitely more than what you did today.
Yeah.
And it might be that you do 2 sit-ups the next day or something, but that's infinitely more than what you've done today. Or it might be that, you know, you do a 15-minute language lesson tomorrow, or a 15-minute language lesson for the next 2 weeks. That's not really all that long, but maybe you build up that habit, and before too long, you're doing an hour-long lesson or a 2-hour-long lesson.
Yeah.
So it might be that tomorrow you don't do anything, and it might be that for 3 or 4 days you don't do anything. But once you decide what habit you want in your life, and exercise is a good one, mindfulness is a good one, there's any number of ones that are good ones. There's any number of constructive things that you can do, but it's kind of about breaking that up into like smaller parts, and kind of developing that small part tomorrow, and then like the day after that do infinitely more than that, which is surprisingly nothing, you know. But the nothing that the very little that you do tomorrow is infinitely more than what you've done today. So pat yourself on the back for doing nothing, essentially.
Yeah, I definitely, I love exactly what you've just said here, and there's a couple of things, one about my life and one that I encourage other people to do within work, to do with habits. Something very simple. Whenever people are talking about how they have a habit of chewing on their nails, I would encourage them to have their cuticle oil beside them, and whenever they find themselves chewing on their nails, grab the cuticle oil and start rubbing it in. Do that every single day, and as you're just saying, within a couple of weeks of doing that, you'll find that your habit then is changing from chewing on your nails to that habit is no longer that. It's actually putting your cuticle oil on more often. The other one that I was going to say for me is something that you've probably never realised. I broke my cheekbone. Is it 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. Just a couple of days before my wedding anniversary, I fell flat on my face and broke this cheekbone. In a lot of my pictures and stuff, you will actually see this cheek sits way higher than this one. It's
all right.
Yeah, I'm deformed for life. It's fine. But one thing that stopped me, because my face, I had a huge scab on my face that was there for over a month. But then the scar, but because it was so sore, I wasn't actually able to put on makeup to go to work every day. And as that time went on, as the weeks went on and I wasn't doing that, that's something that I actually never got back into the habit of doing every day. So it was maybe 1 day a week I would have put makeup on, because I just couldn't be bothered with that extra step in the morning. And even though I missed it, even though I missed having makeup on, I hated how my skin looked back then, I still never got that habit fully back, because I spent so many weeks of being away from it and never pushed myself to get back in. So yes, it's a superficial habit, but it's something that, because you were no longer doing it every day, you were no longer thinking about it every day, that you do get out of the way. And it's the same with exercise. If you don't continue to encourage yourself with that habit, it is so easy, so quickly to get out of the way of doing it. But as you say,
a healthy diet as well. See, 2, 3, 4 weeks, you fall out of the habit of a healthy diet so quickly.
And it's so easy to do. It becomes, I know, even just over a year ago, I was making everything fresh. I was doing so well with eating such a good diet. My diet was brilliant, the best it had been in years. And something in my life changed around this time last year. And it became about convenience. It became about whatever was quickest, whatever I could make on the quick. And it was so easy then to get out of the way of that. But it's something that you have to be conscious of changing that. And if it's something that you are focusing on, as you say, do a bit every day. Don't go all out and try and do so much in one go if you're not ready for that. But build yourself up to it, even if it is just put on your exercise gear and walk to the gate.
Yeah.
And then come back
and
in
it
and
might be
sit.
as small as that in the first day.
Yeah, and that's okay.
It might even be just be putting on your exercise gear.
Yeah.
With the intention of going out. That might be as small as it is, but that was infinitely more than you did yesterday.
Exactly.
So, pat yourself on the back. Hopefully tomorrow you will put on your exercise gear and go out and do a little bit of exercise. You know, the idea is to do infinitely more. Well, not infinitely more every day, but infinitely more every day for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then until you build up the habit. So I think that, I have fallen, so what was the next thing we were on? How are we doing? We're still on 3?
Yep, still on 3. I'm okay with 3 for now. It's only our second one.
Exactly. We've done about an hour and 15 minutes. The last thing on our agenda is the movie.
Yeah,
so
well, let's delve into that movie. I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay, yeah, because I was obviously giving a very, very positive review. And the reason why I give it, this is spoiler talk from here on out, by the way, guys. So
yes, if you haven't watched the film.
15 minutes. So if anyone has watched up to this point, thanks very much for watching. Watch this movie because I've got a lot to say about it, and I think you should watch the movie.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for tuning in.
If you're disappearing now, thank you so much. But if you have watched the movie, stick around and let us know what you think of it as well.
Yes. I thought that this movie had a wonderful moral to the story. Did you watch the movie?
I did, and you know something? I actually realised, Lynn, it's funny, she told me not to tell you. I don't know why she told me not to tell you, but she sent me a message going, just letting you know this movie is about a dad who dies of cancer. My father-in-law, who was a dad to me basically, died of cancer, and coincidentally 2 weeks after he died, my mother-in-law put that movie on. I didn't know what I was watching, neither did she, and we sat down, and as I realised this guy had cancer, I looked at my mother-in-law as the tears were streaming down her face. Neither of us could breathe. And I had to leave before watching the end of the movie the first time because I couldn't cope with it. But
I was not expecting that to be what the movie was going to be about.
No, neither was I the first time.
A love story about a guy who's committing a couple of faux pas on a date.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That was what I was expecting. And first half an hour, I was going to turn it off a couple of times. You know, it wasn't really grabbing me. Nothing about it was special. It was fine. It was the people were likable enough, but I mean, there's other things on Netflix. You know what I mean? It's like, but what you could do with the power to travel in time at the end, if you would spend more time with your son, of course you would.
Yeah. And I love that he did. Like, I love that he said, whenever the son says to him, have we had this conversation before? Then it hits you that, hang on, he has been spending so much time with his son all this time, you know. He has been reliving moments, and even just whenever he got married as well, that he went and he redid his speech.
Yes. And he had, prepared the speech.
I loved it. I did love the whole, as you say, the moral of it is just so beautiful, and skipping to when his dad had passed away and he's talking about how he never went back in time anymore, but he lived every day
with meaning and purpose and appreciated every day.
Which everybody should live with.
Exactly. You know, yes, and like just go through life enjoying and appreciating kind of everything that is given to you, you know.
And I think, just button in there, but I think this situation that we're all living in is something that is also teaching us that we need to live every day the best that we can, because who knows when the last time we're going to see our loved ones is.
What I particularly loved about it was that it didn't end whenever he got the girl. Essentially, that was kind of the start of the movie. And as somebody who's been married for 10 years or whatever, you know that that's the start of the movie. That is
Yeah.
not the end of the movie.
No,
You
that's
know,
not the happy ever after. That is, as you say, that is literally where the real story begins, and where everything takes off from is when you settle down.
yes. And for me, like, there's so much cliche bull crap out there, where the happy ever, they kiss at the end and that's it. And I was expecting that about this movie. That's what I was expecting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He goes back, he faux pas, he makes a couple of mistakes on the dates, and then eventually he gets the girl.
Yeah.
That was not what this movie was about at all.
No.
There's so little out there by way of movies that teach us how to be husbands and wives and mothers and fathers and stuff, and that's the happily ever after, and stuff. And this movie did do that, and I was more endeared towards the character. Well, it was the male character that was the protagonist, but also the female character. She was very nice too, and everyone in the family. And I kind of it showed me a whole entire life of kind of happiness, as opposed to showing me 2 weeks of happiness.
Yeah.
Like every other movie shows me 2 weeks of happiness.
Oh, come on. How many movies have you watched where within the first 24 hours people are in love?
Yes.
I mean, come on, that is not reality.
Yes. I have lost sight of what love is, because movies seem to tell me that it happens in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And, my definition of love is something that kind of happens over time, and it's not like a burning supernova, but a kind of an ember that kind of grows and grows and grows and kind of gradually becomes a supernova, or at least, but then what would I know? I'm not an expert in these things, but, you're probably more of an expert in these things than I am, because
I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I think I've just accidentally ended up with somebody this long because we never see each other, so then we get excited when we do. We're not around each other enough to get annoyed, and, well, I mean, obviously we get annoyed at times, but, we've never got bored of each other, because the only time we've ever been around each other solid was when I was really sick. Apart from that, we don't spend a lot of time together, so then the time we do have is very precious. But in that, it is something that it makes me really appreciate my time with him, and that's the same as this movie. And even delving into the whole going back in time thing, just talking about that, this is a conversation that Thomas and I have had a few times, but we did have recently as well, even before you and I talked about the movie. But it's about, if you could go back in time and do things again, knowing what you had to go through to get to where you are now, would you still do those things? Now, I'll talk from my perspective, because there's things about my husband's life that he won't want me telling people. But for me, before I met Thomas, I was engaged. I got engaged at 18 to a guy who was totally incompatible with me. He will not even go into it was just bad.
Okay.
But I spent nearly 3 years with this guy. We lived together, and a lot of my life changed whenever I was with him. When I first met him, I was applying to go to Bible college, and I had a specific plan for my life. I knew what I wanted to do. And then I met him, and I mean, even before him, even meeting him was due to something else that happened, and I kind of think I could go back and not actually ever have that really awful relationship with him, but I wouldn't be where I am today. You and I wouldn't be having this conversation. Your life would be different today, And I said to Thomas, there's things that have happened in his life that he regrets, and there's things that have happened in mine that I regret. But those things, I know if I went back, I would still do them. I would still, as awful as it is to say, I would still hurt some people to get to where I am now, because I like what I have. I love my husband, and I would hate to to go back and change something that I really hated going through. You know, for example, when I was 16 years old, a guy, very, very close friend of mine, I say close friend, we dated for quite a while and then we'd just become friends. He killed himself.
Okay.
And that was kind of, at that stage, that's where things changed for me, and set me off on a different life. Now, I could go back to before he died and encourage him not to do that. But my life would be infinitely different now, you know, it wouldn't be what it is now. So that's a very selfish thing for me to say, but I wouldn't want to have that ability to change that, because I know...
You know, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, without wanting to take this too much of a religious place, I mean, I have a very unorthodox religion anyway, so it's, it's kind of about kind of believing in that everything that happens is for the best. Essentially, you know, that you are living your best possible self, or at least that you're aspiring to. And that means that all the bad things that happen to you have made you your best possible self.
Yeah. I wouldn't take away being sick and everything I've been through with my health for anything in the world. Because I know that with that, the amount of people I have been able to help over the years and be a support to, you know, I wouldn't have been able to be there for them if I hadn't gone through all the sickness and all of that in my life.
Yes, I think we're in complete agreement here. I think I'm not sure how much more I have to add to that, except that I completely agree. And I know that a lot of people find it difficult to kind of abstract themselves from that. And sort of, I think it takes for you to believe in God or something, and for you to believe that this is the divine will. And whenever you're among the stars, you see it from a different vantage point, and sometimes bad things have to happen in order for the greatest good to happen. I don't know if that's fate necessarily.
Do you know, it is a funny one. Some people would call it fate, some people call it destiny, and it is something, as somebody who does have a Christian faith, a lot of the times whenever things happen in my life that I don't understand right now, I can look back on. I mean, one thing in particular for me, this time last year, my niece started coming to stay with us, my teenage niece. And she would maybe stay for a couple of days, she would maybe stay for a couple of weeks. You know, I've been there for my sister quite a lot, helping with that. But I know I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had been able to have children of my own. That ability was taken away from me because I was meant to be there for a period of time to be a support. And the relationship I have with my sister, my brother-in-law and my niece because of it, that wouldn't exist right now if I'd been able to have children of my own, because I wouldn't have been able to take the time that was needed to be there for them.
Yeah.
Something very serious there for you.
No, well, can we be serious there? I'm sad to hear that. Yeah.
No, but it's one of those things that I wouldn't change. You know, if there was something I could do to go back in time to change a certain thing in my life that caused a lot of trauma and stuff for me not to be able to have kids, I wouldn't change that, because I wouldn't have been able to do what I have been able to do this past year. Yeah.
See, for me personally, Bill Nye is what. Yeah, for me personally, I just lost my complete trail of thought there reading the comments, and that's why I shouldn't do that.
Nope. Keep telling you this.
See, it's okay. So this is going to go on my for me personally, what was I going to say there? Well, sorry, what were you saying? And then thought might come back to me.
We were talking about how, you know, that happened to me, which gave me the ability to do something else.
Yes. Oh, for me personally, I'm at the start of the kind of spiritual journey at the minute, right? So it's sort of, I am at a blank canvas spiritually, and I think that from a blogger's perspective, that's a nice place to be. I am blogging as if I'm a blank canvas of spirituality, and I'm looking for God. That is kind of the underlying theme of my blog so far. I've only written 4 or 5 of them, but that I'm a blank canvas for God means that I am open to kind of all spirituality, or any spirituality, or maybe just one. I tried going back to Catholic Church, and that didn't do it for me. I tried going to Church of Ireland, and that didn't do it for me.
Church of Ireland not as close to a Catholic church as you can get, though.
Pretty much. Yeah, so Church of Ireland is about as close to Catholic as you can get.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was it was nice. Like Church of Ireland, I did think it was nicer than Catholic Church. They kind of took the kids out, which is a problem in Catholic Church. But that wasn't the sort of congregation that I was looking for. And in a way, the sort of congregation that I am looking for is not necessarily dogmatically religious per se. Like, I don't think that religion is necessarily something that you need to have strong opinions about. It's just opening, in the same way as you and I have both opened our minds to the idea of ghosts at one stage in our lives. Where I am now is that I'm at a blank canvas whereby I am opening up my mind to God. Yeah. And what that means exactly, I don't know, and I don't have a definition of that, except that a lot of what you're saying at the minute about sort of bad things happening for the best is something that I absolutely agree with. And I'm kind of looking for a congregation now, a kind of a people who feel the same way as I do. And like, I think that there's a reason why loneliness is kind of the first thing I would congregate a thing about, because kind of whenever you are thinking so differently to everybody else and nobody else is kind of on the same page, and you don't get that cathartic exercise of this is where I am right now. Whereas you've had that for a while. I mean, even just through vlogging, you'd be able to tell people, and people know where you're at. But I haven't had that, for a very long time in my life. Because I've been single for one thing. So I don't have a spouse or a girlfriend particularly to tell that sort of stuff to. And a lot of my family they've moved on with their lives because they all have kids and they're not quite in my narrative. So it's very, very hard to communicate with them with what is going on inside my head.
Yeah. And, that's something, if we go back, 7-8 years ago when I got really sick, as I said to you before, it was an incredibly lonely time for me. And the only person I really had who actually took time to really get to know what was going on with me was Lynn. I had a very, very, what I would have called my best friend, aside of Lynn, because Lynn and I until that stage hadn't really been in each other's lives for quite a few years, but I had a girl who was incredibly close to me, stayed in my house every weekend, even while I was married. Even my husband was very close to her. She was like a sister to him. When I get sick, she couldn't handle it. She couldn't cope with me being sick. She was just like, but you've always been in pain, but you've always had this. She couldn't get her head around how different it was, and that made me feel even lonelier. And that's why I picked up the camera and started talking, because I thought, I don't want other people to feel that lonely. And again, that's why I set up that support group on Facebook, because I wanted to, and I remember for the first 6 months, there was 75 people in that group. That was it, But now there's nearly 10,000 people in it, and there's people from all over the world chatting throughout the day. They're messaging each other privately, and they're being there for each other. And it's something that I think is so important, to have people, to have something that makes you feel less alone. And that is something that I've always strived for. And again, with the podcast that I am planning and continuing to plan to do is simply because I want other people to feel that they're not alone in this, that there is other people that understand what they're going through. And it's the same for yourself. You want to find like-minded people, and that's why I encourage you more and more, pick up that camera, just talk to it it like you're talking to me right now. Obviously don't expect a reply straight away, but talk to it as if you're telling how you feel to friends. I mean, if you look back, I could send you the link to my actual vlog channel, and back then whenever I did those vlogs, there were so many of them that I was literally lying in bed. Sometimes I was crying, sometimes I wasn't. I just talked. I talked about how I was feeling. I talked about whether I got up at a certain time. I stood doing dishes while I did vlogs because I felt like I was talking to friends, and that is something that I find so cathartic about blogging itself, and blogging and vlogging and doing videos, is because you start to feel like you're talking to people and not just staring at an inanimate object.
I'm really glad we started live streaming it's just something I'm really thankful of, Lyndsey. I don't know. I think that we are finding our way at this, and
We
you know, we
are.
are getting somewhere with it. You know, it's I'm really glad to have you, especially now during the lockdown, because it was a good time to get started at this, and I definitely think that it's kind of going somewhere. If
Yeah,
yeah,
and you're going off the screen again. That's not where you're meant to be going.
well, here it's
Yes,
here.
that's it.
Yes. So no, I'm really really thankful for you to I don't know for coming on stream and stuff. It's a totally different dynamic to a FaceTime call with
It
family, for
is.
example, where basically just small talk. Um, and it's kind of nice, to, you know, even if just for myself, it's kind of nice just to do this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
We did actually get a good amount of views on the last one, so who knows?
Yeah,
Now we're
I mean,
gonna get.
that's the thing.
You
As
know,
time goes on throughout the night, I think that's one of the things as well. A lot of my viewers are in America as well, so I do find that a lot of the time it is later on in the night that people do actually watch. It's the same if I'm doing a live stream in my support group. I do it at 11 o'clock at night because more people are available. Although, again, it's a very different time now. Not as many people are out and about working. But I
yeah.
will let you in on a little something. Part of the reason that I never actually got around to doing the live streams before was my social anxiety.
Okay.
It was something
That,
that stopped me from for a long time doing a lot
mhm.
of things, and even up until last year, it was something that stopped me from going to anything to do with um, social media and stuff. The first day I actually went to a group thing, I was so ill the whole night long that I nearly didn't go because my social anxiety was so bad. And it's a funny thing because over time I have been pushing myself to do more things, and people think because my job is really social, I'm constantly seeing people, but that's my safe place. They're coming into my safe place. You know, I'm not putting myself out there where I'm not comfortable.
Mhm.
So it's a very different thing. But I didn't let myself actually get involved in things and actually get into stuff with new people that I didn't really know that well because I was incredibly anxious about it. And for quite a few years, my anxiety got so bad, I couldn't even go to birthday parties of family. And it all came after I'd been really sick that anxiety did get worse. But I found over the last year, I have been encouraging myself some more. So whenever this did come back around now, I was like, do you know what? This is something I need to do. Patrick and I don't know each other that well. There's still loads that we are learning about each other, and
Yeah.
it's really nice to have a friend that doesn't know everything about you, and you are sort of learning new things, and you're learning different things as well. I mean, I love reading your stuff about mindfulness and spiritualness, and the fact that you are just a sponge wanting to learn more about that and wanting to grow more. It's
Yeah.
really refreshing, and it's something that for so long I wouldn't have pushed myself to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that you've definitely encouraged me to do that. My family would not encourage me to do that. You know, it's sort of a yeah. Is it likely that my mum and dad are going to be watching this? Probably not. But anyway, I'll maybe
Yeah,
talk to
I
you
know
about
my
that.
parents won't watch this,
Uh,
and
yes, it's yes.
that's
Um,
okay. That's why we have this world of social media, because there's people. The world is a huge place, so even if those physically around us aren't interested, we're always going to find other people that are somewhere. And I always
yes.
said, even if my videos didn't get a lot of views, even if I helped just one person with each video, I was okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of broadcasting the kind of. I mean, I'm not the most spiritual. Well, I mean, I use a lot of spiritual language in my blogs. Um, and it's because it is because of what we talk about kind of allowing demons into your life and allowing divine into your life. At the minute, yeah. It's that's why I use it, and that's why I am a sponge. That's why I'm a blank canvas. It's just sort of where to next, and how can I
Yeah.
be better? And I think that a lot of people ask themselves that question, regardless of whether they use religious language or not. Um, you know, how can I be more fulfilled and how can I be better? And I think that the only way that you can do it is to use religious language. Um, because I think that a lot of the reason why the loneliness epidemic is happening these days is because less people use religious language. Have you ever had a problem with sleep disturbances?
Sorry, I'm laughing at this because one of the biggest symptoms of fibromyalgia is sleep disturbance.
Okay.
But it's
So,
something that I focus on in my life to change, and stress will make it worse. So what I do at night, I find something. To be honest, this past year, one of the things, we'll go back to this, you'll find I talk about them so often, but this time last year was whenever I found New Kids on the Block. It sounds like a spiritual awakening, but it wasn't. Maybe it was, but honestly, it was something that, until then, what I was doing was I was listening to rain. I was listening to thunder. Actually, let's focus on that, right? Going back throughout my whole childhood and into adulthood, I was absolutely shit scared of thunder.
Okay.
Honestly terrified. Couldn't stand it. The night we got married, Thomas and I got married. Again, something you won't know about me. We got married in Florida on a beach at sunset during
nice.
storm season in Florida.
Oh, no.
In my video, if you have earphones in, you can hear the rumble of the thunder in the background. That night, I experienced the biggest thunderstorm I've ever experienced. But I stood there with earplugs in so that I couldn't hear it properly. And I was able to just watch the lightning. But obviously going to Florida so many times kind of desensitizes you to the whole being afraid of thunder, because it's there constantly. But anyway,
Yeah.
what I actually find so bizarre is that something that really comforts me now, and maybe it is because of how much I love Florida, and it is my happy place, and it is something that I've so many beautiful memories of, is listening to thunder at night, and that really helps me get to sleep, which is so bizarre because it was something that made me so unwell, made me so cry so hard. Like, Thomas used to have to sit and hold me. Like, I needed a thunder buddy for so many years.
I was going to mention certainly kind of back to sleep disturbances. It has been my anecdotal experience that the only way to get rid of sleep disturbances, the old hag at the bottom of the bed, is to ask God for help.
Yeah. One of the last things I find that is so good for me to do is to be present with God at the end of the day and thank Him for that day. Thank Him for getting through that day. Thank Him for everything that I have experienced. And then, I mean, there is the whole thing where you should pray at the end of the day anyway, and pray for everyone, pray for what you want. And I don't just mean, in a selfish way.
Yeah.
But just be present.
Yeah.
But also,
it's same as mindfulness. And,
yeah.
It's my opinion that religions were set up with the best of intentions. Whether or not man has sort of sullied those good intentions over the years, they probably have. But that religions are good and God is good, but God is good. It's just kind of the church, and people are turning away now. And now that people in the internet age are kind of a little bit more isolated, maybe it's time they turn back.
Yeah.
And or at least don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to sort of spirituality, and kind of and there's a lot of baby in there, and there's kind of not all that much bathwater. It kind of is kind of where I'm at in respect of my blank canvas.
I could talk all day about my perceptions of religion and Christianity and all of that. I wouldn't say I'm a religious person.
No.
I have a Christian faith. I have a faith in something, and I have a relationship with God, but I'm not a religious person. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't set foot in church apart from christenings for quite a few years. I do my services online because I found there was a lot of...
I think that we should save this for a later live stream, because
do you know what? That's what I'm saying. There is so much that I could say about this.
Yes. Well, I think we should save that for a later live stream, because there's a lot more. So we're an hour and 45 minutes into this live stream. I think that we've discussed all of our conversation.
Yeah, we've done it. I think we are done.
Time definitely flew there. There were a couple of awkward moments, but for the most part we did all right.
Yeah, and to be fair, most of the awkward moments were before anybody could even see us.
Yeah.
You know, the whole my computer just
I don't
not
know.
wanting to play ball.
We haven't had as many viewers this time around, but maybe sort of after the fact we'll get more viewers.
I'm not sure how many viewers we really did have in during the video last time, though.
I don't know.
I think we only had 3 or 4 at any one
I'm
time.
recording on my channel as well, so I'm not sure what difference that'll make, but probably none. But
You and I can discuss tomorrow about where we post this before we do it, and I think even just as the weeks go on and people know that, and I think this is one thing, and we'll talk more about this in private, but I think we need to bring our FaceTime chat on 15 minutes before we properly go live.
yeah, that's a good idea.
I think that is the key. Instead of doing it right before we're due to go live, so that if there is any hiccups before we start, like my computer craps itself, you know,
Yes.
we can sort that out before we're due to go live. But
Awesome. Well, I think we've got an idea for our next live stream anyway. It's going to be something to do with faith. And actually, there was something else that I wanted to delve in more into.
I think the faith one needs a video of its own, because
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
a lot in that. So if we're going to do that, we could either do that on Wednesday or Sunday, whatever you want, but it's definitely one that we need to.
Do you think that, okay, well, we'll talk, do you think that 11 o'clock's a better time then for your people?
I don't know. It's different
But
in my
it's-
group
it's
because
it's not beyond the realm of reason that I can do it at 11 o'clock if that's a good time for you.
well,
you know-
I mean, we could give it a go, but I definitely don't know whether. I mean, I did it more then whenever everybody was out working and doing their thing, because then I knew, say, somebody in New York was already going to have had their dinner and stuff, and we'd have a wee bit of time to sit down and watch a live stream. Whereas now life is different, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, you know, we don't know what everybody's doing. We don't know, and people are doing things at different times of the day. So, again,
Well,
I think
we'll say 9 o'clock on Wednesday, but basically 7:30 for you and I, or something. Is that a good time?
Yeah,
Basically
we'll-
the same as tonight. So you and I are going to get in touch about sort of 8 or 7:30, but aim for sort of 7:30 or 9 on the live stream.
yeah, fair enough. Do well.
Right. I've really enjoyed this chat, Lyndsey. I think it's been really constructive, and I think we've done well with it.
Yeah, it's been great. Well, let's say goodbye to everybody else, and then you and I can chat for a few minutes before we say goodbye.
Of course.
Alrighty, so if you're still with us, Lynn in particular, because you're the only one that's actually commented, thank you for watching with us again. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.